My name is Christina and I'm a travel specialist for As You Wish Vacations. While I book many vacation destinations, I specialize in the Disney products. This video series focuses on Disney Cruise Line specifically, and we're talking about what happens on the ship. So we've done our online check-in. Now you just want to do a little research as to what you can expect on your cruise. Well, Disney is the only cruise line in the industry that does rotational dining. So if you've cruised before, you have your main dining room, you have your buffet, and you have your specialty restaurants. Well, we talked about the specialty restaurants last week. The specialty restaurants are a little bit different on Disney Cruise Line. You have the 2 adults only restaurants on the Dream and Fantasy, and you have the 1 adult only restaurant on the Magic and Wonder. So they are not nearly as expensive as some of the other specialty dining restaurants, and the main dining room isn't I'm trying to figure out how to put this nicely. The main dining room is a lot more elevated than on other cruise lines. So where on other cruises you want to do specialty dining in order to get a great meal, that's not the case on Disney Cruise Line. You have 3 main dining restaurants, and of course it's Disney, so they're exquisitely themed. The restaurants vary depending on what ship you're on. So one of the things that a lot of people like to do is go on the different ships so they can experience the different restaurants on board. Each has their own theme and their own menu. And so what you'll do is when you get on board, you check in, you get your key card, which is your key to your room. It will have a string of letters on it, and that string of letters will let you know what restaurants you're eating when. It will also list your dining time and your table. So you can request your dining time in advance. When you book, you would decide whether you want to have first dining or main dining or second seating. And the main dining often fills up really quickly, so if you're booking closer to the day of departure, not even close to the day of departure, if you're booking within a few months of departure, you may not get main dining if that's something you're interested in. But main dining happens at 5:45 and second seating happens at 8:15. A lot of people think that eating at 8:15 is really late for them. But when you're out on excursions all day, you're at the pool all day, getting back to your room, changing, and getting ready for a 5:45 dinner isn't always easy. So basically what happens is if you have the main seating at 5:45, you'll go to dinner, you'll have dinner, and then you'll go to the evening show after dinner. If you have the second seating, it will be vice versa. So you'll go to the show and then go to dinner. So if you are traveling with adults, I definitely recommend second seating. There'll be less younger children there, and you can go get a nice drink before dinner. Go see the show if you want to, but go get a nice drink, sit by a bar or one of the lounges before dinner, and then head to eat. You also have a benefit if you do bring your kids to the second seating of checking them into the kids club without having to leave your dinner table. So a little bit into the second seating, kids club counselors will show up and they will take your kids to the kids club. So if your kids have finished eating and you want to have a nice leisurely dessert, they'll pick up the kids and then you can enjoy the rest of your evening while your kids are in the kids clubs. That's for children ages 3 to 12. Another great thing about rotational dining, because you are rotating between all of these restaurants, you have the same table, you have the same seat mates every night. So you can request a table, if you don't want to share, you can request a table for however many people are in your party. That's not always guaranteed, but you're able to request that, or you're able to request to seat with someone that you may know or you may have met on your cruise board or whatever it might be. So you just call Disney Cruise Line, or your travel agent will take care of this and link those reservations together for dinner. So you move around with the people at your table, you have the same table number, you're eating at different restaurants, and you have the same wait staff, which is incredible, especially if you have dietary restrictions or preferences, or even just you like a Diet Coke. They'll have your Diet Coke ready for you every night. So that's a great benefit. You really get to know your wait staff. They get to know you and your likes and dislikes, so they can offer suggestions on the menu based on what they've seen that you've liked and not liked before. Another great thing is you can have as many meals as you want. If you really want 2 things on the menu, you can get 2 things on the menu. Disney's not going to stop you from doing that. So rotational dining is great. You get to eat at the 3 different themed restaurants. You have consistency of waitstaff. If you have a dietary restriction, you don't have to explain it every single time you sit down to eat. You just tell your server the first night, maybe remind them, but they will tell you what is gluten-free, what isn't gluten-free. If you have allergies that are not really listed on a menu, but you need to be careful of, they will help you plan what you're going to eat the next night, the night before. So that's really, really helpful. You also have these incredible restaurants you get to try. So they're different on every ship. So I'm not going to go through each one, the menu and all of that. I did that when I did the ship videos. I'll link to them here. So just kind of check out what ship you're going to be on and figure out what restaurants and options are there. You can also see the menus online before you go. And that is, so on all 4 ships you have Animator's Palette. Animator's Palette is themed to like an animator's workshop. Things come to life. It's really cool. And then you have, on the Dream, you have Enchanted Garden and Royal Palace. So Enchanted Garden is kind of like a Crystal Palace or one of those old solarium type dining atmospheres. So when I said Crystal Palace, I was thinking of the original Crystal Palace in London, not the Crystal Palace in Magic Kingdom, which I'm sure is where your minds all went to. But it's really cool. It's a market style, so the food is inspired by cuisine around the world. And then you have Royal Palace, which is more of a French-inspired meal. The mosaics are inspired by the Disney princesses, but it's done in a subtle way, so it's just elegant, beautiful place to eat. The Disney Fantasy, again, you have Animator's Palette, you have the Enchanted Garden, it's the same as the Dream, and then you have the Royal Court. It's very similar to the Royal Palace, but a little different, so the Dream and the Fantasy are very similar. On the Magic, you have Animator's Palette, you have Lumiere's, which is inspired by Beauty and the Beast, so that is the French restaurant on the Magic. Again, it will have those mosaics, that elegant side to it with the small Disney touches. And then you have Rapunzel's Royal Table. Rapunzel's Royal Table is like a German beer garden. You have an Oompa band, Rapunzel comes to join you, there's singing, there's dancing, and the food is German inspired. On the Disney Wonder, you have Animator's Palette, you have Triton's, which is inspired by the Little Mermaid, so that's a little bit more elegant. You have seafood options there. And then you have Tiana's Palace, jazz music, New Orleans cuisine, and a lot of fun with Tiana and Louis. So lots of choices. You get to experience all 3, which is great with rotational dining. You don't have to worry about reservations. You just get to experience these. What happens if you're on a 4 or more night? You get to repeat those restaurants, but don't worry, you don't repeat the menus. So when you look at your Key to the World card, you'll have, again, your rotation on it. So say you're on the Fantasy, you will have AER, which would mean Animator's Palette, Enchanted Garden, Royal Court. And then if you're on a 7-day, it would then repeat or change up a little bit. So you would have AER, ERA, R, whatever it is. So you would change restaurants, you'd get to eat in them more than once, but the menu would change. Sometimes there's theme menus, so you have Prince and Princess Night, you have Pirate Night, those are pretty standard on most sailings, where you'll have a pirate themed menu or a Prince and Princess themed menu. The dishes will be inspired by the different princes and princesses. You'll have a captain's dinner, which will have your lobster and some more fancy items. And then you, certain sailings, so if you're on one of the themed cruises, which I'll talk about later, you might have a Star Wars night. You might have a Marvel night, a holiday, all sorts of, I believe there's a Frozen night on the Wonder. So all sorts of different fun themed menus. So you're repeating a restaurant, but you're not repeating the same meal, which is fun. And we talked about your dining team rotating with you. We talked about how you know where you're going. You can check your menus beforehand. They change a little bit depending on what's available. in terms of produce and meats and things like that, but they don't change drastically. You can check them before you're sailing and then go into your Navigator app and you can check them then as well, so that you have an idea of what's happening that night. If you're not a fan of the menu, you can always eat at the buffet. So the buffet is called Cabanas, and it's a buffet, so you can get anything you want. You can also get room service, so check the room service menu, and that's how rotational dining works. You also have the option of eating by the pool. So they are the best chicken fingers I've ever had in my life. So if you're not feeling the menu and you want to just eat by the pool, get some chicken fingers. There's also wraps, salads, all of that. You have the buffet. There's just so many choices that you're not going to go hungry. And I think that Disney Cruise Line has one of the best main dining rooms in the industry. In the level, in the mid-range level that it's in. Some of the higher cruise lines will have a little bit better. You guys know, I'll know I love Viking, but Disney Cruise Line rotational dining. If you have any questions about how it works, if you're ready to book your vacation, Christina@aywvacations.com. You can always follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, @aywchristina. I post some great tips there as well. Also, all my deals and discounts will be there. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope all your vacations are exactly as you wish.